The Punisher is by far one of the best Marvel Netflix MCU shows to date. It's managed to give us a deeper insight on Frank Castle, a complex character within the Marvel Universe, all while not beating us over the head with a bunch of other MCU references like some of the other shows tend to do. But it still manages to give us that rich comic-inspired world that fans of The Punisher crave. That doesn't mean that the show isn't filled with some awesome Easter eggs that fans and observant watchers will adore though. So today, in celebration of Season 2's release, we're counting down the references we've spotted with our list of Easter eggs you missed in The Punisher Season 2. And we've listed a handful of Easter eggs and references from the first half of the season, so this is by no means a fully comprehensive list. Also be sure to mention in the comments below after you watch if you'd like us to do a part 2 on the rest of the season. So with that in mind, let's get to it. And warning friends, there are a few spoilers, but not too many. Starting us off in at number 5, The Avengers. The Punisher series tends to not make a ton of references to the grander MCU like other Marvel Netflix shows. I mean, hell, Jessica Jones had a whole subplot pertaining to disgruntled New Yorkers in Season 1 who are acting out of revenge thanks to the events of the Battle of New York in the first Avengers film. Back to The Punisher though. Now, if you look closely, The Punisher does contain some subtle shoutouts to the world it's set in. Early on in the first episode, during the scene when Frank goes back to Beth's apartment, we see Beth gathering together a handful of her son's toys that are laying on the floor. If you look closely, you'll see that they're action figures of a few familiar faces: Iron Man and Thor. They're only in the shot for a brief moment, with her gathering them up and putting them away. Up next, number 4, Lola's Roadhouse. So this one might be a really obscure reference. Much of the action in the first episode of The Punisher takes place at a location called Lola's Roadhouse. Now in the Marvel Comics, there's a character named Lola, who is a sidekick of sorts for Blackie Ross, a villain who appeared in Marvel Mystery Comics issue 2 back in 1930 and fought the original android Human Torch. This Lola has quite the history of being on the run and driving. She was an accomplice in Blackie's car racing racket. So, obscure Easter egg or just a coincidence? In addition to that, the band that's playing at the Roadhouse in the first episode is actually a real-life musician named Shooter Jennings, whose name you can spot all throughout the episode on screens and marquees. Moving on to number 3, Jigsaw's Mask. One of the biggest surprises fans of the series and comics noticed was that Jigsaw, Billy Russo, doesn't have nearly as much of a gnarly appearance thanks to his scars. You know, the scars from the gruesome wounds that Frank had given him at the end of Season 1, which aligns with the story in the panels. But one thing that fans will notice is the mask that Russo uses during therapy. It's actually much more reminiscent of his cut-up face in the comics. Despite feeling a little skeletal, the lines on the mask are much more like the visual damage that we see on his 2D counterpart's face. Moving on to number 2, Room Number. In the third episode of the season, when Billy Russo breaks out of the hospital and takes his therapist Krista captive while he escapes, there's a moment when he enters a room that has a sign outside of it that reads 129. It's right before they go outside. Now 129 has importance in the comics as far as the Punisher is concerned. It's the number of the issue of The Amazing Spider-Man that Frank Castle first appears in, who at that point was just an antagonist of Peter Parker's prior to becoming a beloved anti-hero. Side note, that issue is also the same issue that the Jackal first appears in as well. And finally, in at number 1, bus ads. At the start of episode 4, in the very first scene that takes place on a bus, you'll notice that there's several advertisements, just like any regular old bus. But if you look closely, they're specific to the MCU. One of them is an advertisement for lawyers, but not Nelson and Murdoch. Rather, it's for Krishner and Brown, the lawyer team who represented Union Allied Construction in the Daredevil series, appearing in Daredevil Season 1, Episode 3. There's also an ad for Apex National Bank, a fictional bank that exists in the comics in Daredevil issue 4 from 1964 that the Purple Man robs. Alright, there we have it friends. What other Easter eggs and references have you spotted so far? And do you want us to do a part 2 of this list for more? Give us a shout in those comments below and let us know your thoughts. If you dug this video, spread the love, hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to Top 10 Nerd for more Easter eggs and MCU themed lists. We even have a nifty little playlist currently flashing on your screen, so give it a click. In the meantime though, thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.